in any
Yep.
minute. Okay, thank you. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. This is Columbus User Group February session 2026. We are happy to have Crhistian here today talk about OrderCloud and the upcoming features. I have been working with Crhistian for last 2 years in a very complex project in OrderCloud. I haven't seen anyone more knowledgeable in OrderCloud than him, and I'm so grateful for all the help he provided me for the extremely complex project that we are working on. It was a pleasure working with you, Crhistian, and thanks for taking the invite uh, and having the talk today. Thanks. Take away.
Awesome. Thank you for that kind intro. And I'm happy to be here and share a little bit more of what I know. Love doing that. So let's see here. Uh, so today we're going to be learning about a few new features that are upcoming. Actually, I guess we should start with who I am. So my name is Crhistian Ramirez. I am a senior solution engineer. I have been working with OrderCloud for more than 10 years. I started back in 2016, uh, back when we were a company called 451 that was acquired by Sitecore later. So I was part of the original team that was acquired. And for the first few years in OrderCloud, 451 was a small company, so we didn't have that big partner network that Sitecore has for implementation. So a lot of our implementations, actually all of our implementations were self-implemented. And I was part of that solutions team that was doing those implementations. So my experience is, as a developer, and then as an architect, doing those kinds of things that partners do on a daily basis. So I have a lot of experience, not only just from a product perspective, understanding how something works, but strategically, like what makes sense in certain scenarios. When we were acquired, obviously, Sitecore has a lot of partners that do the implementation. So my role wasn't as valuable or as necessary. I felt I could do more. So I pivoted to more of a technical advisor role. I was part of the PTA team, uh, the partner technical advisors, not to be confused with the Parent Teacher Association, though I am a parent, so maybe one day I'll be part of that as well. But the PTA team, we were a group of experts in each product, and we advised partners on how best to implement it so that there was successful, scalable solutions. That team was actually dissolved a few years ago, but the commerce team thought specifically that that role was very important, and they fought hard to keep us around. And so I'm basically doing the same thing as I was as a PTA, but specifically for commerce. So I work with partners like Hamadri on different customers to make sure that we're building successful, scalable solutions, because that's going to retain customers long term, which is, a big priority for Sitecore. So today we're going to be talking about some upcoming features, specifically buyer groups, discounts, and bulk APIs. There's some pretty cool features. I'm excited to dig into it. I'm going to be doing an overview of the feature and then like a short little demo as well. So let's start with buyer groups. And I want to talk a little bit about the history and the context around why this makes sense, first of all. So I have on my screen a diagram of a marketplace. So on the outer side of that marketplace, so this is a marketplace. It's the biggest container for an OrderCloud. It's basically the OrderCloud instance. Everything lives within that marketplace. There's two main parties, two main users in every marketplace. There's the admin users. These are the all-powerful, all-seeing, all-knowing users that configure your marketplace for your buyers. And your buyers obviously are, as the name implies, users that purchase or buy things on your site. So the admin users set up things like products, price schedules, promotions, everything related to the buying experience. And the buyers just purchase things. There's also another entity, suppliers, which we won't really talk about because they don't really pertain to this feature, but just know that they're there as well. Historically, buyer organizations were the largest container for buyers. And a lot of our customers, especially our B2C customers, they're just going to have one buyer organization, and things work pretty well for them. Within that buyer organization, they have user groups so that they can segment their users, and things aren't too complicated, so things work out pretty well. But some of our customers, especially our B2B customers, they do take advantage of multiple buyer companies or buyer organizations. Um, and just to kind of paint a picture of what that would look like, imagine you're a restaurant parts supplier. So you sell, kitchen appliances for restaurants, you sell cleaning products for restaurants, everything that a restaurant might need to operate their business. And your buyer organizations could be Chipotle or McDonald's or Subway. These are all unique buyer companies in their own right with their own set of users, and you're probably going to want different pricing for those buyer organizations based on contracted pricing that you set up with them. They might run their own promotions. So there's a lot of complexity within the buyer organization. And that works pretty well if they are like actually completely different. But in some cases, they're not. And one example of that might be like a franchise model where, yeah, they are different locations of a franchise, but they're all part of something bigger. And unfortunately, today in OrderCloud, we don't have anything bigger than a buyer organization. And that complicates things a bit when you want to make assignments. For example, let's say you need to assign a promotion to a subset of buyers. Well, every time you need to make an assignment, you need to make an assignment to each of the constituent buyers. So buyer A, buyer B, buyer C. If you have hundreds or thousands of buyers, which is a real use case, then that can become very difficult to maintain from an operations perspective. So with this new feature, we're basically lifting up another level above buyer companies, buyer groups. So it's going to be a group of buyer companies or buyer organizations. Let's go take a look. So these are groups similar to buyers, similar to user groups, and they simplify catalog and pricing management. And actually, they simplify management at any level where you would make an assignment to a buyer ID. Instead of a buyer ID, you would provide a buyer group ID. So they are a little bit different than a user group. You can't assign a buyer to multiple buyer groups. They can only be at most to one buyer group. So that is one difference. But once you do that, you can then assign those buyer groups to catalogs, pricing, discounts, any other entities that you need assigning to. You also get like a group level default catalog. So if you have a default catalog set at the group level and at the buyer level you don't have anything set, then all of those buyers will automatically inherit that default catalog. And the other thing, obviously, this is going to have an XP or extended properties, like nearly all of our entities do. So it just gives you another place to segment by tier or region or whatever it is that you want to do it at that higher level. So I'm going to do a quick little demo now. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see the portal?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm in the portal.ordercloud.io. This is our legacy portal. It is actually getting sunset by April 30th, so you won't be able to access it after that. But today you can access it. And the nice thing about this old portal is you can create your own marketplaces. You don't need to, you can create a free account. And if you create a sandbox in Australia East specifically, so if you go to marketplace, create a new marketplace, Australia East, you'll be able to see what I'm seeing right now, which is these buyer groups in beta. It's only that region that we have this deployed to right now. And just keep in mind it's beta, so things are subject to change. We're still kind of working through things, but it does give you a chance to preview the feature. So here's buyer groups. We're going to go ahead and create a buyer group, which I've already kind of set up ahead of time. And we're going to just call it US East. So this is going to be our buyer companies located on the East Coast. So I've gone ahead and created it. And I'm going to go and list my buyers just so you can kind of see what's in here so far. So I have 3 buyers, 1, 2, and 3. And these 2 are going to be part of US East. So to do that, to assign it to that buyer group, I'm just going to be updating or patching the buyer object, because right on the buyer object is that group ID. So we'll just go ahead and copy this because otherwise I'll mistype it. So we're assigning it to group ID. Buyer 2 is now assigned, and buyer 3 is now assigned. And now that we've done that, we can do things like go into catalogs, for example, and create an assignment to the buyer group ID. Now since this isn't beta and it's not complete yet, you're not going to see this everywhere, but if you were to go and make an assignment, for example, you would eventually see buyer group ID here as well. So basically anywhere that you see you can assign buyer ID, you should be able to now assign buyer group IDs, which is nice. So that is buyer groups. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The next feature that I want to talk about is the discounts. So what are they? It was kind of hard making a description of what they are without using the word discount to describe it, but they're percentage-based reduction in prices. And it's kind of what you would think of when you hear discounts. So it allows you to say, I want a product price to be, 10% off or 20% off of some base price. So you do need to have a base price set. So you'll have a price schedule somewhere, and then you'll have a discount. They work together hand in hand. And you can target discounts at really broad levels, like catalog. This would allow you to say, I want a discount applied to all products in this catalog, category level, directly to a product. You can even get pretty fancy and say you want to define a filter. So you could target all products where xp.color is red, and all of those products that match that filter would receive a discount. And then similarly, once you've created the discount, you can then assign it to different entities. So user group, buyer, and ta-da, buyer group. So these 2 new features are kind of working hand in hand. Now there's a lot of different ways you can assign discounts or combine discounts. You might have a catalog level discount that applies to a buyer group, category level one to a buyer, a lot of different permutations and different ways that discounts might arrive to a specific product. So as you can imagine, there might be multiple discounts that apply to a specific user for a specific product. If that does happen, they're not going to stack. OrderCloud will automatically select the lowest resulting price. So basically the best price for the customer is the one that's going to apply, regardless of which level it's applied at. That's a little bit different than price schedules. Those work on like level of granularity. So if you assign a price schedule at the buyer level and one at the user group level, the one at the user group, since it's more specific, is going to apply. This one, for discounts, it's different. It's going to be based on the best price for you. Once you've applied a discount and that the user is going to see it returned on Me products, so you'll be able to display that discount on list pages and detail pages, and it's going to be separate from the price, so you'll be able to show, however you want to show it in the UI. You could show either the resolved price or what's common is just showing the price scratched out and then the discount price to kind of give users an idea that they're getting a discount. And then discounts are persistent.
Crhistian,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So why it was like, OrderCloud has a very extensive promotion, right? Why this was created discount separately,
Mhm.
which I guess like, you can achieve through promotion also, right?
Kind of. You can, but I mean, promotions have to be added to an order, so there's like a physical action, and you can't show those discounts on list pages because they're not
Mm,
effective until they're added. So it is slightly different. It's solving a different use case. Is the really we're just providing more flexibility. Um, yeah.
okay. Okay, so if the discount is created and added to some sort of catalog or like, product hierarchy, and then to a group buyer or users, you can see that immediately
Hmm.
to the product. Okay.
Yeah,
Is that
we'll take.
something like, show up as with the product API, like you get the discount data along with the while you are calling product API?
Yeah, if you call me products as a
Hmm.
user,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
you'll see that.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll go through, we'll do an example because this one's also in beta. Um, so we'll go ahead and start. Um, so first, let's go ahead and I'm going to impersonate a user. I'm going to impersonate a user in buyer two, which is part of that US East discount group or US East buyer group, sorry. So I'm listing my products right now just to kind of get a baseline of what's here. So I see this product one, has a price of 10, and I kind of similar things for all the other ones. So product two has a price of 20, and then product three has a price of 30. So those are the three products that we have in our marketplace right now. These are not discounted as of right now. Um, but we'll go ahead and create a discount. So I'm going to go switch over to my admin user, and let's see, we'll go to discounts, and we're going to go ahead and create a discount. And I'm going to copy paste discount that I've set up ahead of time. So here's my discount. It's going to provide 10% off for any East Coast groups. So it's targeting the East Coast catalog, which is all three products, and it's giving it a discount of 10% for any quantity ordered greater than one. Now, these discount breaks, they work similar to price breaks. So you can do volume pricing. So if we decided to, define another quantity break here, that's like quantity 100, amount 20. That's basically saying for any order greater than, or any quantity greater than one, provide a 10% discount. For any quantity greater than 100, provide a 20% discount. So it allows you to have that kind of control based on how many items they're actually ordering in their quantity. And here's the other, so the product filter, a category ID or product ID. So in this case, we're just targeting at the very highest level of the catalog. We'll go ahead and create that discount. And then we're going to assign the discount. I just took the discount ID that we created, and then I'm assigning it to the buyer group. So I've done that. Now if I switch over to this user, buyer two, who's part of that East Coast buyer group, and I list my products, I'll see that I get this discounted price. So I see what the price is after discount. Um, and I see the original price, so I can show both if I want. And I get the discount object, so I can understand which discount was applied, where did it come from, how was it targeted. This gives you, the reportability that you need um, to ensure that things are working well. And this discount object is carried forward if you create an order, add line items to it, submit the order, it'll always be there. So you'll always have that visibility into how that discount came to be part of this product. It won't be just the discounted price. All right, so that's one discount. Let's go ahead and just create one more. And I want to just kind of highlight some other behavior. So we go into discounts as the admin. We'll go ahead and create a new discount. This one's going to be slightly different. This is going to be 20% off. It's for a specific buyer, buyer two, for a specific product. So it's only for that product, only for that buyer. They get 20% off. So quantity of 1%, 20. Go ahead and create that. And then we are assigning this discount to buyer ID 2. So that's just part of the description here, buyer 2. But now that we've created that discount, I'm signed in as buyer 2 already. So if I list my products again, I'll see that I have now a 20% discount on just this first product. And the other two products, they're still just getting 10% discount. So that's working as expected. And this is different than if I were to impersonate buyer 3. Buyer 3 should just see those 10% discount on all 3 products, which they do. And then if I impersonate buyer 1, which is not even part of the buyer group, then I shouldn't get any discounts at all. So discounted, null, price 10. So a lot of flexibility here with discounts. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to share about discounts. Well, one more thing, I guess. So what are some of the use cases? I mean, there's a lot that you could think of. These are kind of ones that I thought of. So it makes membership pricing a lot easier. Imagine you have some kind of a system where you have 3 tiers, a bronze, silver, and gold tier. And based on the membership to those tiers, you get better discounts. Historically, the way you would do this is you would need to, for each product, for each tier, you would create a price schedule and assign it to that tier. If you had 1,000 products, that's 3,000 price schedules per tier, and then you need to assign them to. Now, it's really just creating those 3 discounts and assigning them to the catalog and the buyer. And basically, you don't touch it pricing anymore at all, except for updating base pricing. So if a new product gets added, it automatically gets discounted if it's targeting that catalog. It's pretty nice from that perspective. It's a lot more operationally efficient. You could use this for flash sales. So it's not really a promotion, right? We do have on the price schedule, we have actually something called sale price. So if we create if we create a price schedule, we can set a sale start date, sale end date. And that's nice. Like that is like I don't want to take away from that as being a good feature. This lets you set up pre-configure pricing ahead of time, ahead of a sale, and things will just switch over automatically, so you don't have to do anything ahead of time. But what you do have to do is modify this price schedule to include that sale price on all of the products that are, for that sale that's taking effect. With discounts, you could just create that discount the same way we did it in the UI. So it's like I said, it's a lot more operationally efficient. So it unlocks that use case where you could just create a discount, as a user, not even making API calls or automating anything, and target a catalog or a category instantly. And there's a lot of power in that, I think. And then the last use case that I kind of thought of was, flexible pricing. So this is actually something that one of our customers does. They have base prices defined, but no user actually sees the base price. Everything is discounted to some degree. And what this allows them to do is, if they want to raise the prices somewhere, all they have to do is increase that base price, and everything kind of flows through to the other, to the users proportionally. So if they were getting a 10% discount, they're still getting a 10% discount, but the actual base price of that product has increased. So it's kind of a neat way of thinking about pricing a little bit differently. All right, so that's discounts. And then bulk APIs. So we've started, this isn't bulk APIs for everything yet. We're going to kind of tackle this piecemeal, but this is in general how bulk APIs are going to work for everyone, for every resource that we end up building. So the goal is to be able to process up to 50,000 records in a single request. And how is it going to work? You'll be able to submit a bulk request. So that request is going to have a request body that can include up to 50,000 records that you need updated or deleted or whatever it is that bulk endpoint processes. And you're immediately going to get returned 202 accepted and a job ID. That job is going to run in the background asynchronously, and you'll be able to pull the status through this endpoint to determine, what happened, how many of those were successful, how many were errors, and if there were errors, what do those errors look like? So partial success is possible, and it's expected, and there's a way to view the errors if they occur. There are some limits in place, so at most 50,000 items per request. The maximum payload size is 25 megabytes, and you can have at most 2 concurrent jobs per marketplace. But these bulk APIs are meant for high throughput, so we don't expect these jobs to be super long running. Like by batching all of these items on the API side, we can process them a lot more efficiently. So the idea is you're going to be able to process data a lot more efficiently, scalably, and quickly than you normally would. And the benefit to you as an implementer is you don't have to worry about, orchestrating that job and making sure that it's running well and making sure that the load isn't hitting our APIs too hard. Like all of that is kind of taking out of the equation for you, and all you have to do is make the requests and check that the job is running well. So that we have a few, these are the bulk endpoints that we're going to be starting out with. So there's going to be the ability to upsert inventory. So anytime you see upsert, kind of what you would expect. You either update it or create it if it doesn't exist. Price schedules, upsert or delete. Discounts, upsert and delete. And discount assignments, upsert and delete. These are all kind of what you would expect they would do. The one that's a little bit interesting is this price schedule one. It actually allows you to do some kind of a assignment to default price schedules as part of the request. So it'll create the request, and if you set a certain property, it'll also set the default price schedule. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. These ones are not in the portal yet, so we're going to be using Postman to kind of show them off. Let me just make sure. Is that pretty visible? Pretty good size for you guys to see?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to take this token and set the variable. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do an upsert for the price schedules. And we're just doing basically price dash new. So I'm doing it for all 3 of them. And we'll go ahead and run that request. And we see in response, we get this job ID back. And it shows us too that the status is queued. We've received 3 items. At this point, none have been completed, none succeeded, none failed, which makes sense. We just made the request. Then we call this other endpoint, although I want to save the job ID. We'll take this job ID and I'm going to set it in variables. And then over here, we can get the status of this job. Okay, so we got the status. So upsert was completed. We received 3 items, 3 completed, 3 succeeded. If we go into OrderCloud, we should now see 6 price schedules. which we do. So here's price one new with the price of 20. Okay. I want to show now an example of where there's um, mixed like results, mixed partial success, I guess. So I have two items. In this case, I'm updating a price, and that one's fine. In this one, however, um, no, sorry, this is the error one. So in this case, I'm omitting name, which is a required property. So this one should error, and this one has a name, so this one should succeed. So we'll go ahead and run that request, and we get a job ID back. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe. Huh, interesting. Let's go to raw. Okay, something is going funky with the parser, but we'll get the job status of this one, and we'll see that the upsert completed, received 2 items, completed 2 items, but only one of them succeeded and one of them failed. So if we already have our job ID set. If we now call this errors endpoint to get the errors, we'll see that this one failed because name was required. So as a validation failure, we'll be able to potentially fix and then run this again later. And let's see. The last thing I wanted to show is that this specific endpoint allows you to do something interesting, which is you can set it as a default price schedule for a specific product. So right now, if I go over here to my products, there we go, products. The default price schedule ID is still price one, not the new ones. So I'm going to go ahead and update it. The other thing I'm updating in this one is the price are all by a factor of 10. So instead of 10, it's 100. Instead of 20, it's 200. Instead of 30, it's 300. So I'll go ahead and send that request through. And now I have this job ID, which I will save in my variable. And then I will get the status of this job. And we can see that received 3, completed 3, succeeded 3. Awesome. So now I should go over here, and this should change. It should be price dash new, price one dash new. Yep. And then if we look at our price schedules, we can see that those prices should be updated so they're like 100 or 200. And yeah, here it is. Price is 200. Um, and then price 3 is 300. So now if I log in as that buyer 2 and list my products, I should see those updates. Yep, so this is now 100 and 20% off of that is 80. So that kind of wraps up what I wanted to talk about, I think. Is there any questions?
I have one question about this. So you said that 50,000 items, right? So if that's volume of data, right, we have to still upsert, send that data to the server, or is there anything I can say, okay, use this webhook and get the data from somewhere. I can have a store or something, and that returns data using some sort of API. So
are you
I'm
saying,
just thinking out from the volume perspective for the upsert can be pretty big, right?
yeah, I guess I'm not sure what you mean. Like, are you saying like instead of sending an API call, you tell OrderCloud, here's where all my data is that I want you to upsert?
Correct.
Yeah. There's nothing like that. That you'd have to build that through the APIs. So you'd have to go through this bulk API and you'd have to manage that. So if you have, let's say, 300,000 items you need to update, then you would have to have some kind of process that sends those batches to OrderCloud.
Okay. So OrderCloud expect that data will come through the upsert. If we have a high volume of data, it can take like 50,000 items, but we have to be like 50,000 item, I guess, like it depends on how you define item, right? And then there is a 25 MB limit also.
Mhm.
So from the client perspective, we have to actually uh, take care of that and use Upsert to send the data.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's going to have to be some validation on your side to make sure that both of those limits are respected. Once that's sent over to us and we've received the job, you're able to pull that job status to see how many have been processed, or if it's complete to kind of give you an idea of how much time is left on that job.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. So obvious question is like, when this feature will be
Mm,
released. So do you have any
yeah.
idea?
Yeah, I think we're targeting this summer, probably May, June, I think at this point. There's still
Mm,
most of the stuff is there. I think we just need to like tighten it up. So it could come sooner, but I would say at the latest, um, June.
okay. It would have been like, really helpful for Hethel's work, as you know, like the uh, menu sync. Um,
Yeah, some of it for sure. I just want to reiterate that this isn't all of the endpoints that we're introducing bulk APIs for. We're starting out with just those, price schedules, inventory. Um, so like specs, I think was a big one on her list of things that would
mm,
she would like to see on there, but isn't yet. And we're going to kind of take
uh,
those as like a case by case thing in terms of what's the most high value for customers. So if you do have a bulk API endpoint that you want to show up sooner than later, then definitely provide that feedback. I would say our Slack channels are always monitored very, very well, the Order Cloud support. A lot of our engineering team monitors that, so that's the best way to give direct feedback on things that you want to see.
yeah. Yeah, both like discount and this feature bulk API are, I think, really exciting. I mean, the discount I always find like, there is actually a tension between what you set up in the on the e-commerce and then what happens on the ERP, like, prices.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like, ERP has to accept that price, right?
Right.
Um, and that's why we found a lot of challenges. Like, you can always create discount promotion on the e-commerce side, but then how you are going to send that or communicate with ERP? It's pretty, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
they
especially
have to be aligned.
discount, yeah, like, flash sales and those things are really is um, extremely useful from the e-commerce site perspective, because pricing and promotion is always complex. And
Mhm.
if you can make it easier, it's just really help the um, business.
Yeah, the other
So,
thing I didn't really mention during my talk I had meant to is all of these discounts, they sit above and above, they extend what exists today. So they work with all
mm,
of our other pricing features. So if you have very granular pricing and very granular discounts, we're going to respect that pricing and the discount's going to be applied to that specific price that the user's assigned. Um,
correct.
and if you do sale pricing, that's also going to be respected. So the discount would be applied on the sale price if you were using both in conjunction. So it is a lot of complexity, but it's also comforting to know that you're able to mix and match those features and have them work well together.
Okay. So why was like, why it is only percentage, not like, amount?
Because we already have price schedules if you wanted to use amount. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I
I
guess
mean,
this doesn't, I see what you're saying now. This doesn't preclude us from potentially supporting something like that. I think it did come up actually, like where you specify an amount or a percentage. There's a lot of like gotchas with amounts. Like you could have an amount that's actually more than the product,
correct.
and then do give away like free products.
Yeah.
And percentage is always easy because it's always going to be based
Yeah.
off of that base product.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. All right. Is there any question? I see like, Maulik, Kiran, you guys have any question?
No, nothing from my side.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. Well,
Okay,
thank you
that's
guys for
it
having
then.
me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you so much for such a good talk. Okay, we have it recorded, so we'll be actually publishing it in YouTube, in our YouTube channel.